Hello, folks, and welcome to the Know Better, Be Better podcast, a conversation about health and wellness where we explore various topics to increase our knowledge and understanding in order to grow holistically. I'm Daron Raynor.
And I'm Dani Ondreka, and today we're here talking about social health or social wellness within the context of friendship.
Okay, so before we get into this, we got to review social wellness. In our first episode, we talked about the pillars of wellness, right?
Yes.
Social, environmental, physical, all of these different areas that we tackled, just gave a brief touch on. Now we're going to look at the social wellness pillar. So we're going to look at it in the relationship context.
Yes.
And the previous definition that we used in our first episode was finding connection with others. That's the central theme of the social pillar, right? Mm-hmm. So we're trying to maintain healthy relationships. We enjoy being around other people. We're developing friendships and intimate relationships, and we're caring about others. And lastly, I remember when we were talking about this offset, you said letting others care about you.
Yeah, so important. It's relational, so it's with yourself and with others. Mm-hmm. Those two very much go hand in hand.
Yeah. So why are we here today to talk about the social pillar?
Oh, man. So I think we really began to discuss this when we thought about the context of 2020 and looking at how people's relationships with others changed when the environment around us changed. And we were no longer going out, to grab dinner with people. Maybe we were no longer going out to grab a drink at happy hour with someone. We weren't having these big social gatherings and these big social events. And we also have this layer of social media, right? So just in regard to that, we see that relationships have become very surface. So I think right now, especially, this topic is so important in looking at, what do we see as a relationship? What do we see as a friendship? Is it authentic? If we can't go out and have brunch with them, are they still my friend? What does that look like?
Yeah, no, 2020, I like that point that you made. 2020 definitely brought up a new dynamic of desired relationship. Mm-hmm. I think before 2020, we were all going so fast. We're in our routine. We go to work. We go home. We spend time with friends and family. But we didn't really get into the depth of things, I think, until 2020 hit.
Yeah.
That's when everybody was looking into, physical wellness. Obviously, you have the coronavirus pandemic. Mental health is a huge ongoing conversation that needs to happen, but also the social wellness of every individual who has now become isolated, where dynamics have changed because of, unfortunately, different types of political landscapes and things of that sort, where now the question is asked, who are my friends? Or do I have friends? Or do I even know really what friendship is,
Right. And I think we see more and more who is willing to show up for you if that context has changed. Mm-hmm. And that, to me, has showed me the value in a lot of my friendships and a lot of my relationships. If we can't have this get together after we go to the gym, are they still going to check up on me? Are we still having that dialogue? Is it as authentic if we're not having that get together? Like, who is still willing to show up and who is still willing to do that work?
Exactly. So, when we look at the concept of friendship, it is that exact question, like you said, like, what exactly is a friend? What type of friends do I have? And what type of friend do I desire? But this is the most important thing. We're asking in the context of a reception. What do I receive? Like I said, what is a friend? Okay. What type of friends do I have? Received again.
Yeah.
And what type of friend do I desire? Received again.
We're not taking any ownership.
Right. No, there's no ownership on that. So, but then it's like, most importantly, what type of friend am I is the biggest question, right?
You attract people that are like you.
Do I give the type of friendship that I require? Do I have standards? And I think of, there's a saying, especially in like fitness, that you would say to like a basketball player, because oftentimes different basketball players that I have worked with, they'll come up to me and be like, how do I dunk? That's always the first question. It's not it's like, how do I dunk? Because that's
a question.
Yeah, well, that's the sign that you've made it, apparently.
Yeah. Oh, my clients, it's how do I get abs?
Yeah, right.
Whether or not that's a sign of health is totally that's out in left field, but do I have abs?
Exactly. And
How do I get there?
But we don't tell them, your answer is not going to be have abs. My answer is not going to be dunk.
Right.
Both our answers are going to be something that is conducive to obtaining what you desire. So for a basketball player, I might say, you need to jump more. That's the motion to get you to dunk. Do different exercises that lead to jumping. So to take off the physical wellness and get back into the social wellness, it's like, if you desire a friend, how do I get a friend? What is the first thing? Be a friend.
Yeah.
You can't have what you yourself are not, if you are not a friend. And I just wanted to share, because like I said, we're looking at social wellness in the context of the different pillars. One of the pillars is a spiritual pillar, and we really talked about that heavily in the first episode about spiritual pillar is your identity. And so in looking at the faith, when we look at the Bible text, we see here we have Proverbs 18:24, and it says, a man who has friends must himself be friendly, but there is a friend that sticks closer than a brother.
I like that. Makes it about family more than just, I think we throw the friend title around a lot just in general. So making it something that has a little bit more meaning, is a little bit closer to you, I think is really cool.
Right. And so you're exactly right, because I think of how friendship has been overused. It really has been overused. Everybody is our friend, but we need to give it better context. What exactly is a friend?
What a great question. So we talked about it a little bit when we discussed this initially, companionship, that I think is even a much better word to use than friend, because friend is used so loosely. But a companion is somebody who is next to you, right? Who walks with you, who wants to do life with you, not necessarily ahead or behind. And it's more than an acquaintance. So I think a lot of times when we throw out the term friend, we're actually talking about this person that we know that lives down the street, and really we don't know that much about them. But, oh, my friend, she sells this really awesome soap that she makes. Like, that's cool. Maybe you really know nothing about this person.
Right.
Would you actually consider them a friend if you stop to think about that? So there are actually a million different definitions to friendship, and we looked into a couple of them as we were kind of preparing for this talk today. One of my favorites that I found was a state of mutual trust and support. I think that's really cool.
Yes.
Mutual, so both sides. Like, it's not just you giving your trust or giving your support, you're also receiving the trust and receiving the support. The dictionary kind of says a couple different things. A friendly relation or intimacy, it's not as specific, or a friendly feeling or disposition. And I'd argue friendship in itself is more than a feeling. So I don't know that I love that one quite as much. There was one more that I really liked, a state of enduring affection, esteem, intimacy, and trust between two people. Like, that takes it a lot deeper. Esteem, how you look at somebody, how they are in your eyes. Do you kind of hold them up, not necessarily on a pedestal, but do you look at them with, wow, like a little bit of reverence, like they're really an awesome person. I really love them. And that intimacy, that closeness, that affection is that love piece, right? And you're seeing that on both sides. I think that's a phenomenal definition. Yeah,
and I really want to highlight one word that stands out of that specific one, where you said a state of enduring affection, esteem, intimacy, and trust between two people, is that word enduring.
Yeah.
I mean, this life is not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yeah.
And in the same way, all things that we do, like we talk as fitness professionals with our clients and stuff, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
You're going to have great days. You're going to have days that require a little bit more of you. But
this is life.
Showing up every day, being progressive, is where you get to your goal. So adding that to the social context, especially when it comes to like friendship, some days you're on fire with your friend. You're on the same page. You're clicking on all the chords. And then some days it's a little bit more challenging. But even on the challenging days, endurance, right? So reading that again, a state of enduring affection, esteem, intimacy, and trust between two people. So you don't lose that even on the hard days. That really does start to separate what is a true friend from maybe an acquaintance or one who I thought was a friend.
Right. Well, I really like that you highlight that there will be days that are struggles, because you are also still two different people who have two different lives that you are living. You have a completely different set of circumstances and experiences. So you're going to be at highs and lows very different times. We're not all riding the exact same wave. So I think it's good to remember that. It helps you to have grace for the people that you are friends with, because okay, yeah, maybe they're having a bad day today, but I was having a bad day last month and they were really there for me. So now's my time to kind of step it up and maybe give just a little bit extra because they need it today.
Absolutely. And that kind of brings us into our next point is not all friends are yes men, as they say. Not all friends will co-sign with you. I think of, the famous saying from Every Mother Ever. If little Jimmy jumps off of a bridge, are you going to go and jump off of a bridge too? You know what I mean?
Yep.
So just because you claim each other as friends, you may not have the context of what true friendship looks like. You rather just have a relationship, but it's in a direction that doesn't exactly build you up or help.
Yeah. Where are you going?
Where are you going exactly with your friends?
Moms know.
Now, this is to add real quick, just to throw this disclaimer in here. This is not to say ditch your friends.
Right.
Or ditch those who you thought were your friends.
Yeah.
Rather, this is a call to us as individuals to, again, going back to that text that I shared from Proverbs 18:24, a man who has friends must himself be friendly. And I would like to throw the word first in there. Our obligation, when we know better, we be better, which is the Kettering slogan, right?
Yeah.
That we've added for this podcast series. We want to make sure that with our knowledge, we take it, we put it into practice for those who may not know. It's not that you got to sit down with your friends and say, hey, you're not being good friends to me or whatever, but rather take it upon yourself. I haven't been a good friend in this relationship, so I'm going to be better for you. I'm going to seek deeper connection and deeper relationship with you, because we're meant to have relationship,
And it's not to say, I hate that we say this right now in society. It's a very, very big thing to commonly label people as toxic or label things as toxic. I cannot stand when people use that word. Just because you don't have a meaningful depth of relationship with someone doesn't mean they're a bad person. It doesn't mean that they are toxic and you need to cut them off, cut them out of your lives. They are not a trash human being. They're still a human being.
Yeah.
And maybe that depth of relationship is just not meant to be for you two, and that's fine too. I mean, just because your friend Janet only wants to come to themed brunch doesn't mean that Janet is a bad person. This is the context of your relationship. It's brunch. That's totally fine if that's all you want from that relationship. That's okay. But the cool thing is you get to decide the context of all your friendships. In your relationship, you need to take ownership of that, right? Not only how you relate yourself to them, but in what context?
Yeah.
What do I want this friendship to look like? And make it happen. If you want your friendship to be more than just brunch with another person, then make it more than brunch with that other person. That's so cool. Like, you can really do that.
Yeah. Give what you desire. And again, like you said, change the context of the friendship up by being proactive and being what you desire for that relationship. Yeah. Let it be a positive experience. It's not that suddenly you're walking in and you're like, I'm not going to do what you're doing or something like that, but rather it's kind of like a gradual process of, hey, I'm going to start caring about you in a way that is outside of what we have put as a bubble.
Yeah.
And that's so important, especially because we live in a society where, you read all these different types of, I don't know what you call them, mantras or different types of motivational quotes to take with you for the day. And a lot of it is so self-centered. And a lot of it is like the relationship revolves around you, whether it's your partner, your spouse, your significant other, your friends, your family. It centers around you and makes you somehow the greatest thing that's ever since sliced bread.
You become the god.
Yeah, exactly.
If they don't give me this, they don't love me. If they don't buy this for me, my spouse doesn't really love me. Or if my friend doesn't show up to this for me, they don't really love me. It's not a true friendship. It's not like that.
Right. You're not. It's not that at all. You get those types of, like, not everyone is for you. Not everyone is, is on your side and things like that. And it's like, let's scratch all of that. Let's keep it simple and let the tried and true way work. Be a friend first.
Yeah.
And then in you seeking a healthier social wellness pillar by having a healthier friendship and relationship with other people, they have a choice now. Let it be their choice. You stay consistent with your, as we just read, you stay consistent in the context of having affection for your friends, esteeming them as better than yourself, and having an intimacy and a trust where you can connect on levels that they can trust you and they can talk to you about anything and that you can show up and be there for anything. If they don't want that, let them say, I need to go somewhere else. You stay consistent. And if they go somewhere else, you stay there.
Yeah. That
You
key
don't
word
go
is
your own way.
choice.
It's the word endurance again.
Ooh.
It brings us back to that endurance. We
Yeah.
have an obligation to be a friend consistently in the rain, snow, thunder, lightning, sunny days, bad days.
That endurance is consistently making that choice again and again and again. And we make thousands of choices every single day. So make the choice to be a good friend.
Absolutely. And so, especially when we get to this, this way that we look at a friendship, not all friendships, as we said, are yes men. Some friendships will challenge you, you know?
So tell us what you mean by yes men.
So like a yes man is like, I'm going to go do something that I know is unhealthy. I know that is bad for my mental health. I know that indulges in what I already struggle with. I'm going to go do it anyway. And what does a yes man do? All right, I'm right there with you. Yeah, let's get into it, you know? Or they just agree with everything that you say. So you may tell me about how you're having a problem with this person or that, you know, this situation. And if I'm a true friend and I can see through it from an unbiased standpoint rather than saying, girl, you're so right, and, you know,
I'm waiting for you to say that to me.
and pouring into all of what you feel, I can affirm how you're feeling, but I can still say, hey, maybe you're the cause of this issue, you know?
Yeah.
That's what a friend will do, because a friend cares about you, you know?
Gives you more perspective.
Yeah, sometimes what we consider our highs are actually low points, and it's our friend or our jobs as friends, even with the individual, to build them up in a way that will challenge them sometimes. It's growing pains, as they say, you know?
Yeah.
It's, you're trying to make your way upwards, and in that upwards, it is kind of a struggle. As you said, friends not walking before you, holier than thou. They're not walking behind you as a yes man. They're side by side. And some days you need a little bit of a pull. It's not just on your bad days, but some days where it's like, hey, you're kind of a mess right now. Let's get it together in the kindest way.
Yes, with love.
In love.
Without judgment.
Always in love, without judgment. Yes, but a friend will challenge you.
And you should challenge them.
Exactly.
As iron sharpens iron.
And that's a great text. Proverbs 27:17, as you said. If you like to read it there, it says.
Is it in here?
It is actually. It says, "As iron sharpens iron, so a man sharpens the countenance of his friend."
I love that I didn't even know that you were going to read that.
There you go. You know, but I looked up the word countenance, and countenance is mental composure and calm expression. So a friend can help you de-escalate your situation. A friend can help liven up your life and keep you mentally sharp.
Yeah.
You know, they're not keeping you in a bind of your mess, but rather they're challenging you to get to your sharpest you know?
Yeah, that's, I mean, really how this entire podcast concept came about. Like, we had a really good discussion one day, and I think this is the most emotional that Daron has ever been with me. He was like, man, I just really appreciate that we can have these conversations because we love to talk. We talk like this all the time. He was like, you really sharpen me, and I feel like I sharpen you. And I was like, man, yeah. It was good.
Yeah.
It was a really nice moment. Just had to share that with you guys.
And that is, it's done a lot for the both of us.
Yeah.
You know, and we don't claim to be at the top of the hill. We're still climbing. This is a journey we're taking together.
We're a mess, yeah. But we're doing great.
We're doing great, exactly. But we keep each other sharp.
Yeah.
There's another text I wanted to share in regards to a challenge that a true friend gives you. It's from Proverbs 27, verse 6. It says, "Faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful." And that should get us all to think, because many times the friend that gives us the correction, or gives it in love, it's always in love. And it's not in love how we choose, okay?
Yeah.
We should have another conversation on what love actually is, because it's a very overused word.
Gonna be here all day.
But in the truest sense of what love actually is, which is a selfless love, seeking the best for everybody, even if it means you yourself don't benefit or you yourself lose out. In that context, approaching your friend and trying to say, hey, I'm here to get you on the straight and narrow way.
Yeah.
Or I'm here to try and get you to be the best version of yourself. Then that is what does a lot more, in a way, building up. Now, sometimes that does cut down a little bit. That does a little bit of undoing for some individuals. It can hurt. It can sting sometimes.
That can affect relationships. And I think pride is really at the center of that. You know, if someone says something to you and you're not ready or you're not in a place to really hear it or really receive it, and you just take it as judgment, man, that can be really hard.
Yeah, and I think of that second half, it says, the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. When you look at the 2020 landscape, and we know that the world will just never be the same.
Yeah.
But just the amount of unrest that we've seen amongst people, where people don't get along, people are like, shattering friendships. I have no connection to you whatsoever. I don't want anything to do with you simply
Everyone's
because of
angry.
all of these types of things. Many of us, and I am not trying to say that one party is better than another party or one news outlet is better than another news outlet. But we know even in the social media world, what it does is they play into your own motive and agenda, right? So like Facebook, for instance, will always show you what you desire to see.
Yeah.
So then what it does is it causes you to take a deeper dive into your own self, when really a friend is a selfless individual.
Yeah.
So it's, like I said, this isn't just say one or the other, but rather it's just to say, let's be mindful as well in the situation that we're in. Even the circles that we have, we tend to surround ourselves with people who only agree with us and who only stay on our accord. And that can eventually go from great, good fun to toxic and unhealthy, to where it becomes the kiss of an enemy that causes us to be destructive. Why? Because it causes us to dive deeper into our own self and our own selfish ways and ideas and stuff like that, that when we see somebody who's counter to us, we cannot be a friend to them.
Yeah. That's sad, honestly, because I think you lose out on so many potential relationships in so many ways that you can be sharpened and you can be challenged, and it strengthens you in your convictions, really. I love that. Not everybody should agree. And don't be afraid of that. It's not to say that if someone agrees with you either, we're not trying to say that they're a terrible friend.
Right.
Maybe they really do genuinely agree with you. But to just have that introspection always that we come back to. We always come back to that word, but being very thoughtful about how you interact with others and how they interact with you. And if you really sit down and think about it, you'll kind of see what is legitimate and what is not. People understand what is junk. People understand BS. I say that all the time. People know what that looks like, okay? You can't really fool them.
Again, like you said, doing that introspection, or in a more modern sense, check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Yeah, right.
Constantly taking a look in the mirror and seeing, who am I, what am I doing, and how is what I'm doing affecting those around me?
Yeah.
Am I being an affectionate friend to all people, even those that may be deemed as enemies?
Am I growing?
Am I growing, So let's try and make it a little bit practical as well, especially when it comes to, when we look at the 2020 landscape and we see how people's social pillars have been really given a blow because of the fact that people are dealing with losses. People are dealing with loss of job. Some people still don't have jobs. Some people don't have family, it seems, at this point. How do we, as friends, in the context of friendship that we're looking at right now, of companionship, how do we reach out to these individuals from maybe like a sympathy versus empathy standpoint?
Yeah, I kind of think these go into each other in an interesting way. So when we look at sympathy, that's like feeling bad for something that someone is going through. So you could look at someone who maybe is dealing with a medical diagnosis, and you're like, wow, I feel really bad for that person. That must be really rough. But you yourself, don't really understand what's going on, right? But if you kind of switch that over and look at empathy instead, empathy is more about putting yourself in their shoes. If you start to consider, wow, if I was in this situation, how would I feel? If I received that diagnosis, what would be going on in my head? What would be going on in the heads of my family members? And it gives you a little bit more to work with as far as how to show up for that person, and how to love them more well. Is that a statement that is
We'll make
normal?
that a statement. We'll write it down somewhere. Yeah.
We want to be really well.
Yeah.
So if you think about it that way, it just gives you more tools in your toolbox to be able to show up authentically and in a way that they need you to show up. So it goes beyond the face value of just, oh, I feel really bad for you. That really sucks.
Yeah.
There's no action there.
That's it right there, exactly.
There's nothing you can do with that. It doesn't lead you forward. You can just say, I feel bad, and then your hands off. You can step away from that situation. You have no obligation to do anything for that person.
So if I see that you're having a hard day, if I just text you like thoughts and prayers, that's not gonna cut it?
We had a conversation about this the other day. There is
Yes.
nothing that ruffles my feathers more than people saying that statement. And I know that it is meant in love. Like, no one is meaning anything terrible by saying it, but I don't know, if I'm going to tell somebody, I'm sending you blah, 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 I'm sending you love, I'm sending you prayer, I'm actually going to pray for that person. I would rather say, hey, I'm praying for you. Like, I want to do this for you. I want to be actionable about my statements when I am trying to send somebody love, for whatever. Because just saying, oh, thoughts and prayers, have you actually done anything? Like, I just can't stand that because it's not actionable. It doesn't actually give you something to do for that person.
Yeah.
So while it might be awesome that you're thinking good thoughts, does that really help your friend out?
Yeah, and again, it still keeps that isolation, which is what we're trying to, especially for the safety of the COVID-19 pandemic that we're still in with the different variants and whatnot. There are new ways to connect to people,
Yes.
Or there are ways that people have neglected, just because maybe you have to social distance or you can't do certain things. There are methods still, there's video chatting, there's phone calls, there's showing up on the doorstep and all of these different types of things. And so I agree with you, it's not it doesn't hold the same feeling because of how loosely used it has been, where it's like thoughts and prayers or, hey, sending love or sending positivity your way. It's like
sending good vibes.
Yeah, I'm going to hang out here and somehow I'm going to try and will something over to you rather than just pick up the phone and call them.
Right.
Go knock on their door and and hang out with them, or tell them, hey, I love you, I care about you, and I want to help you in this experience.
Yeah.
You don't have to be an answer, but you're present. As you said, the people that show up are the ones that have a lasting impression.
Well,
on
think
other
about it.
individuals.
I mean, our listeners, I really want you to consider this. If you are just scrolling on Facebook, or maybe let's say you are the one with the medical diagnosis, you've shared a status on Facebook and people are commenting on it. Who are you going to remember more? The person that commented thoughts and prayers, or the person that went into your direct messages and sent you, a more legitimate message, and actually took the time to type something out, or did take the time to call or actually send a text message? They went beyond that space, that 2 to 5 seconds that it took to type that out, and they took the extra time, like the quality of time. Like, you're going to remember that person so much more than the person who just commented thoughts and prayers. And they both were really well-intentioned, but one required a little more effort.
Exactly, and that's what we're trying to get at is, let's step outside of ourselves. Remember, friendship and companionship, whoever desires friends must himself first be friendly.
Yeah.
You put others above yourself. You take the time out to go and to be a part of their experience. You don't lose your identity in that. And sure, maybe you got to shed a tear with them. You don't know the whole situation, but you're present, you empathize, and that does a whole world of good for those who are hurting, especially in the times that we're in now.
Yes.
It's not enough to just, send a few words. It's not to say that you can't do that. We have to put that in there.
Yes.
You can definitely say these things, but the challenge is, let's look to make the extra step. Let's do the uncomfortable thing. And even something that I have not done great with, so I'll put that disclaimer out there. I have not done great with it, but I want to make it a mission for myself, is to at least once a week send a text or call somebody who I have not spoken to in a long time.
I love that.
It could be an old friend from college, a friend from high school, a person that somehow we're friends on Facebook and we have never really interacted, but oh yeah, we were at some event together or something like that.
Yeah.
But take the time out to check up on those people. You'd be shocked what you come across in terms of people's experience, how people open up to you, but also just how much your own social pillar gets reinforced and strengthened, because now you have a friend or friends that stick closer than a brother, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to gather as many people together as a big support system so that we all together can be socially well.
Yeah.
And it's just this main point here is love is at the center of friendship.
It is. And I would argue they waterfall into each other, sympathy to empathy to love. I mean, maybe you start at that base level. Maybe you start at that base level, right? It's just that sympathy. You just feel bad for them. You take it a step further, you find that empathy, that empathetic view where you're putting yourself in their shoes. And once you start to really live in that, sit in that for a while, you're going to start to really authentically love that person. So it is like a waterfall effect.
Yeah.
You get down there to that love, that big overarching theme that really leads everything.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I see it goes from self and it goes down to other.
Yeah.
As the further down that stair step you go, as you go from sympathy to empathy to love, it goes from me to, okay, I'll to you, to like all you, none of me.
What a maturity.
Yeah.
As well. That is a mature person who is able to look outside of themselves and care about what is going on with someone else.
Yeah, and that begs the question now is, can we connect with all people or share in others' experience, or do we fear that our perspective may change? And this isn't even from a sympathy or empathy standpoint. This is just on a general scale of friendship, Are we able to hang out with that person who has a different viewpoint than us? Because as far as I know, there's nothing that says only these people are friends and these people are enemies and things of that sort. But society we live in needs a defined friend and a defined enemy.
Yeah.
And they make friends something of a selfish nature, and the enemy is something that doesn't fall in line with your selfish nature.
Yeah.
Can we occupy the same space with people who look different, think different, behave different, have different viewpoints, worldviews, and all and the such? Can we occupy space with them and make them a friend?
I mean, that goes even further. I mean, that's going into the world and society and how we relate as human beings. When you don't agree with someone and you dehumanize them and you look at them as less than you, I mean, you're really teaching your brain to go to a really scary place with that. You can direct that viewpoint onto any person who doesn't agree with you. That is terrifying, because they're still a human being and they still have value. And if we were all the same, we'd be robots. Yeah. How horrifying a prospect, I don't want everybody to think the same way that I do.
Right. And everyone has a lesson to teach somebody.
Yes.
I think the moment that you can reject your pride and allow some humility to fill up your heart, you can realize that even the bottom of the totem pole of society can give you some of the greatest life lessons.
Everyone has value.
Everyone has values, because everyone has a story. Everyone is on the same journey that we call life.
And you were put through your specific circumstances to be able to share that.
Yes.
Because someone out there maybe needs to hear what you've gone through. They need to understand that you've been in the place that they were in, and you can encourage them in that. Exactly.
Someone needs freedom from your experience.
Yeah.
There's a quote that I thought of, and I'm going to butcher it, but I'm going to give it my best shot. It's, the reason why you're struggling is because you're paving the way for somebody else. The reason why you're not struggling is because somebody in the past paved the way for you. And it's not necessary, and that goes with like occupational, that goes with all kinds of wellness, but from the social standpoint, your life's testimony, sharing with somebody else what your struggle was, what you've gone through, what you've been through, and being that active friend and being an active presence in their life provides freedom for that individual from something that they are going through that you also went through, that you probably had no idea. And they may never share it with you. And that's okay. But that's why we carry ourselves in such a way as being friendly first on the front foot rather than receiving friends. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring people into their best version of themselves, a healthy social life.
And you can be that with people even if they're not a specific friend. You know, we're talking about this in the context of friendship, but that's just purely looking at connection with other people. And that certainly does lead into friendship. So the difference there is, do we like that connection? Do we want more of that connection? Like maybe we do connect at face value and our relationship is just fine with that person. We really don't need anything deeper. They don't desire anything deeper as well. Do we want more of that connection, right?
Absolutely.
Do we want it to be a little bit deeper?
And in order to obtain that, it starts with the home. It starts with, I think when we were talking off camera, you said it starts with the home of your heart. You know? But it does
We're so corny.
It starts with an inward look and it progresses outward.
Yeah.
How am I doing me, myself? Am I showing myself grace? Am I showing myself kindness? Am I showing myself mercy? And also, am I removing pride from my life? Am I removing my own toxicity, you know? And then what do I do with that? Especially as a Christian, because God has shown all that to us. He's been patient with us. He's loving to us and all that type of stuff. So because he's been that to us and we receive that in our hearts, now our obligation is to do that for other people.
Yeah.
Which again goes back to that enduring affection, esteem, and intimacy that helps to build up other people. And in return, you get built up in a way that cannot be matched or described. And I think we have to understand that is like the thing that we desire when we are on the front foot in active pursuit of what we desire, not for selfish gain, but for just the betterment of other people. The thing that we once had selfish gain for kind of blows away, but then the gain becomes so much greater than what we thought we could have.
You can't buy that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's actually
profound.
something else. Yeah.
We're getting deep.
So really, as we wrap it up here, you know, some of the questions that we have to ask is, you know, how much time do you put into relationships that are the most important to you? If someone looked at your weekly or monthly calendar, would they see that? Or do you see that? Do you see that you're actively pursuing relationships with people? You know?
That's a great thing to think about.
And then
Only you can answer that too. You know,
Only
and
you
it's not a
can.
judgment thing. It's not to say, wow, I looked at my calendar and I haven't seen so-and-so in 3 weeks. I'm a terrible friend. But where can you grow from that? You know, if you feel like you're lacking, do something about it.
Yeah.
You can always make the next hour better than the last. You can always make the next day better than the last. It's not we get to Monday, we restart our entire life and try to be better.
Yes. It starts with the now.
Yeah. Send the text now. Make the phone call now. Whatever person you just thought of right now.
I have to tell you, I was thinking of when I try to be healthy, one of my biggest downfalls in my healthy lifestyle as a fitness professional, I know, is food. I would like to say that I eat healthy compared to maybe others. But by the standard that I know, to the knowledge that I know, I'm not doing the best that I should. You know, I make a quick fast food trip more than I want to.
We know better.
But
are we doing better?
Are we doing better? Exactly. And so what I have to keep telling myself, because I wind up spiraling, you know, the moment that I eat that unhealthy thing, then I go onto the next unhealthy habit or the next unhealthy. And then it's like, whoa, how did I get here? You know? In the same way, I've also tried to tell myself, it's okay. Right now, okay, this is not a great moment, but right now you can counteract it. Go grab an apple. You know what I mean? Or next meal has to be this. So pack it up, take it with you, or start with drinking a thing of water. So taking that concept and applying it to the socially well category of our social pillar, like you said, maybe you messed up. You haven't been in contact with that person in a long time. Or maybe you offended that person. Maybe relationship hasn't been great. you'll say like, it was their fault. They did this or whatever. Remember, it takes two to be in a relationship.
Come on, don't let your pride talk for you.
So don't let your pride talk for you. So what can you do? Rather than let it spiral to where it's like, oh yeah, I haven't spoken to her or him in 20 years, because of something that you can't even recall, or because of something that's not to the proportion that you've made it out to be. Start now. Okay, I'm going to call them. And not only am I going to call them, I'm going to check up on them.
Yep.
Not only am I going to check up on them, I'll initiate by making things right.
Yeah.
By saying, hey, this situation, it offended me or whatever, but I apologize because whatever.
Oh, I was going to say, while we're here, sidebar on apologies, okay? It is not a correct apology to say, wow, I'm sorry that you felt like that. Do not go and say that to somebody. Does that really fix your issue?
Yeah.
That's the sympathy, okay? This is the first layer. That's the first level. That has nothing to do with putting yourself in their shoes, understanding where they're coming from. Maybe you don't fully understand it at all, but that's where the love comes in, okay? You got to find that empathetic way to say, wow, I'm really sorry that this happened. Maybe tell me more about why you felt like this so that I can understand. Or, hey, maybe I do understand a little bit of your perspective. I've thought about it. I sat on it for a little bit, needed that time to kind of let it marinate. And now I'm ready to talk about it. I'm ready to apologize. Come at it from a place of love and not well, I'm just so sorry you felt like that. You are not really apologizing. Go home and try again.
Yeah. It is a humbling experience to lessen yourself to the point, even if you know you were wronged, to say, I've forgiven you without telling you I forgive you. I've forgiven you. I've let it go past me. I'm going to make the initiative to say, hey, I should have been connecting with you a lot sooner. Or
forgiveness is never actually about them. It's about you. That's a heart problem.
Yeah, it says I completely let that go. And that's exactly what we can do right now. This is our picking up of the apple after we've eaten fast food and we're feeling guilty. Start with a healthy habit. Like we say, pick up the phone, send that text, do that video call, or go knock on a door and spend time with the person that you need to reconnect with, or the individual that you have not seen for a while, even if it's not on wrongdoing.
Take the time. Don't let stuff fester, right? The longer you let it sit, the worse it gets, the worse you feel. Like, man, I've been a terrible friend for 3 weeks. Might as well go 5 now, We should not have that mindset.
Absolutely. Again, people are struggling in this pandemic situation that we're in, and we truly don't know. So while we may have our own struggles, sometimes the world of good that can be done for us is by saying, I know I've got my situation, but it'll do me a world of good if I go out there and I do something for someone else, if I show myself friendly to somebody else, if I reconnect with a friend that I didn't know I needed even,
Take ownership.
Exactly.
Be the friend that you want to be. Just do it. Just make the choice.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to finish with this last text. This is John 15:12, and this is actually Jesus talking to his disciples.
Come on.
Something that kind of gets lost in the society that we're in today, where it's all self, self, self. This is like one of his last words before he goes to die. And he just says, this is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you.
Come on.
And we talked about this word love is not just like, oh, I love this, or I love my car.
Wow, I really love potato chips.
Yeah, he's calling for us to have a selfless, not selfish, a selfless, unselfish, high regard and high esteem for each other, because that's exactly what he did for somebody like us.
Yeah.
We don't deserve friends because of all of the things that we've done.
Yeah.
We're very fortunate to still have friends, and it's not just like, maybe we haven't done some of the things that society deems as the worst, but we've done enough to where we don't deserve the friends that we have, or the circle that we have, or the family that we have. So because with that mindset of, I've been given something that I don't deserve, let me give it to somebody else, whether they deserve it or not, whether they wrong me or not. And that is what's going to do a world of good in reconnecting the relationship, rekindling a relationship, but also amplifying the other person to be the best version of themselves so that they can go on and become a social pillar for someone else and help build up their social pillar.
Yeah.
Everyone is a pillar for someone, but it requires us to say, okay, how can I today actively love somebody
Yes.
who deserves it? It could be a conversation of you wake up in the morning, how am I going to love my spouse, you know, or my significant other? How am I going to love on my friends today? How am I going to love on my coworkers or my supervisor, or even the individual who comes to work that is going to be a little bit more of a challenge? How am I going to love on them?
The person that cuts you off on 75.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really bad at loving those people, but I'm working on it.
How are we going to put them above us, even in
Yeah.
the most trying times?
Stay grateful.
Exactly.
That's the best. Being
that's
grateful
it.
will always elevate you in
Yes.
anything that you do. Always. Because if you're truly grateful, your action will match that.
Exactly.
Be grateful for the people in your life.
Yeah. And with that does today's podcast episode. I was very, very, very blessed by this.
Man, we
social
brought the
wellness
heat
pillar.
today.
Yeah, we will have many more podcasts referring to this specific pillar, and we will also have many other podcasts referring to some of the other pillars.
Yeah.
All right, folks. And with that, thank you for listening to the Know Better, Be Better podcast. I'm Daron Raynor.
And I'm Dani Ondreka. We hope you enjoyed our talk today. Go out and be a good friend.